All right, folks. Taylor Lewan, Chris Broussard, he's on the Titans, not the Bills. As you guys saw, he had a quite an injury.
Coming over the pile here. You just see the corner of his head hit the back of the defender, and as he rolls over the pile, you just hope and pray for the best.
He's coming for the tackle, dives into the fray, and from what it looks like to me, he had his neck flexed, so he has a flexion compression force, and then he kind of rolls over and lands on his back, hits the back of his head. And it's clear to me that he is out cold in this. He's not moving, right? Scary situation, I imagine, to be on the field and seeing that happen, because you have no idea what's happening with the player, especially if he's not moving. So what they're doing right away is getting over there and making sure that they keep his cervical spine, which is the thing I'm worried about, and they are, immobilized so that no further damage is done. So he's out. Definitely has a concussion, right? And the concern that any individual looking at that would be worried about is whether he's had a serious neurologic injury. I mean, with a flexion compression mechanism where you're putting an axial load straight into like this, flexion, you could have all sorts of things happen. You could break bones in your neck, which would make it unstable. Fortunately, they're saying a CT scan was done and he has no fractured bones. So that's a very good thing. Okay, he could also have what's called an injury. This more happened with a flexion distraction injury, but in that video, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what mechanism. I know there's a flexion and compression, but it is possible that in the back of the spine you have these joints called facet joints. It's possible that those facet joints can do what's called a jump facet. In other words, the joint will dislocate and get perched, or can't go back to the position it needs to be. That's a serious problem because it's also unstable. That usually requires a person to be taken to the emergency department and then to the operating room, where they'll put traction to try to get that joint to go back in. But that didn't happen with him. CT scan was done and showed nothing like that happened. So he definitely had a concussion. And as he was going off the field, he put a thumbs up, and the reports are now that he's moving all extremities. So he definitely had a concussion. He likely had some transient event that was not allowing him to move his extremities. That got better. Okay, so I'm sure they're still going to be watching him. He's most likely gotten an MRI at this point, and we'll see how he does. I think he's going to be fine, but he's going to have to follow the concussion protocol, which we talked about at some point. So he's going to be out for at least a week until he's cleared to get back into the fray. But I think this brother got very lucky. It's a fun sport to watch, but bad things can happen.
So it's essentially he's zapped something in his neck.
Yeah.
And it just shut everything down.
Well, he knocked himself out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but as far as like the moving the arms and legs.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, if think about what happens to a boxer when they get hit in the head, right? Their legs just turn into noodles, right? So everything in our body is essentially controlled by electrical impulses, and if you hit the brain hard enough, you're going to affect the ability of those impulses to be transmitted to the rest of the body, and may not move the arms for a while, may not move the legs for a while, but it obviously all came back for him. So looks like he's going to be okay.
And so if he passes through, there's no like long-term effects for anything with his neck?
Well, he's a big dude, and that's a lot of potential energy that was transferred into his neck. Is there some damage? I can tell you his neck probably hurts like heck. He probably has some muscular damage. He may have some contusions to the bone, the bones in his neck. So I think he's going to be pretty sore. Think about what happens when people in a motor vehicle accident, they have a whiplash injury. That hurts like heck, and it takes a long time for people to recover, even though nothing's broken. They have micro tears in the musculature and some of the ligamentous structures, and it's painful. So, is he going to be okay in the long run? Probably. Is he going to be having some neck pain for some time? Yeah, most likely. But like I said, I think a lot of these NFL players play through pain all the time. It's not good to have a concussion because you're more likely to have concussions going forward, and you always worry about having more worsening symptoms with each blow to the head. That's why the concussion protocol is there. They don't want you to get back in too soon, have another injury, and get a second hit phenomenon where it's even worse than the first one. So he's going to have to go through the entire protocol, rest, gradual return to exercise. Exercise is going to be completely symptom-free, and then they'll finally get him back into doing sport-specific exercises, and then back to practice, and then back in the game. But he's out for about a week at least.